I watched the water swallow the last of my patience. My laptop floated like a coffin, bubbles tracing its death. My brother stood there smug, grinning as if the whole thing was a joke. "Oh, sorry," he said like a shrug could erase 20 years of entitlement. "Accidentally dropped your laptop in the pool." I didn't flinch. I didn't argue. My father, ever the enabler, waved it off. "It's just an accident." The words slipped past him like smoke. But me, I heard a verdict. I went to my room that night and made a few calls, changed a few passwords, not out of anger, not out of impulse, out of precision. I slept lightly, knowing that by dawn he would see what comes when arrogance meets planning. I remember when I first met him. Really met him before the lies, before the entitlement, before the betrayal. We were kids building forts out back, dreaming of kingdoms, conspirators, and laughter. He looked up to me then, or so I thought. I trusted him like blood runs through veins. I believed in him the way naive people believe in family. And then the money came, or rather the demand. $20,000, a bribe disguised as a favor. I just need it for a business opportunity. He lied, eyes sparkling with deceit. I refused. I refused because I always refused to feed the greed that had grown like a tumor inside him. The first signs were subtle. Missed meetings, half-truths, a bank statement I wasn't supposed to see. I caught glimpses of the real him, a man who saw bonds as leverage. When he dropped my laptop into the pool, it wasn't an accident. It was a test, a declaration, and I would answer. I spent the night planning, calculated, methodical. My revenge wouldn't be a scream or a fight. It would be surgical. Step 1, control. Passwords changed, accounts frozen. The financial strings he pulled so easily were severed in silence. Step 2, observation. Every habit, every rhythm, every predictable weakness. By 6 a.m., I knew his schedule better than he knew himself. I watched him that morning through the window, coffee in hand, unsuspecting, stretching as if he owned the world. And then the messages started arriving, subtle, innocuous at first. Emails flagged as urgent. Social media posts quietly manipulated. Friends pinged him with questions he couldn't answer. Slowly, a pattern emerged, one he couldn't trace back to me. He began to panic. I didn't smile. Not yet. Watching him squirm from the safety of preparation was satisfaction enough. Every alert, every failed login, every whispered inquiry about his suddenly frozen accounts chipped at him. I let it build. Anticipation is a weapon sharper than any blade. By mid-morning, the first cracks appeared. He called my father desperate. My father predictably laughed. "It must be a mistake," he said. My brother hung up, his confidence eroding faster than ice in sunlight. Next step, exposure. A few careful nudges, a few well-placed messages. And the people he counted on for leverage began to doubt him. His allies, his friends, the ones he borrowed favors from, the ones he manipulated for years. They all turned. One by one, they stepped back, eyes wary, voices cautious. I watched it happen with surgical detachment. The climax arrived quietly. He didn't expect me at 6:15, watching him open his email. He didn't expect the subtle shift in the world he thought he controlled. The contract he tried to sign, the investments he planned, they all collapsed under the weight of frozen accounts and revoked permissions. His empire convenience crumbled silently, but I could see it in the tremor of his hands, the tightening of his jaw. I finally spoke, but only once, softly, deliberately. "Remember the pool?" He froze. Recognition flared in his eyes. First confusion, then horror. He realized too late that his arrogance had blinded him. I didn't yell. I didn't gesture wildly. I didn't need to. The message was clear. Every action has a consequence. And this one was precise. He searched for loopholes, for excuses, for any escape. There were none. His calls went unanswered. His emails bounced. The world he believed he owned no longer answered to him. And through it all, I remained calm, a shadow in the background, letting him wrestle with the chaos he couldn't control. When he finally sank into defeat, the quiet devastation on his face was my victory. Not revenge for his own sake, not for pride, not for anger, but for justice. Calculated, surgical, and undeniable. I watched him stumble through the day, humbled by the sudden invisibility that comes when privilege is stripped away. He couldn't buy his way out. He couldn't charm his way out. He had no one to manipulate, no system to exploit. Only the consequences of his choices delivered with the precision of someone who never forgot what betrayal feels like. By nightfall, he called again. The tone was different, less arrogance, more fear. I answered once quietly, firmly. You wanted my money. You lost your leverage. Don't make me explain the rest. I hung up and leaned back, feeling the calm after the storm. Relief? Yes. Satisfaction, absolutely, but not gloating. Revenge isn't about spectacle. It's about balance, about teaching someone the cost of underestimating you. The cost of assuming loyalty is currency to be spent recklessly. That night, I slept like a man who had finished his work. The tension, the anticipation, the silent orchestration of ruin, it was all behind me. My brother had learned his lesson, perhaps too late, perhaps painfully, but I had remained intact, unshaken. And in that, there was a subtle, undeniable power. I realized then that revenge isn't about cruelty. It's about precision, about teaching a lesson that's unavoidable, undeniable, and irreversible. And as he lay awake, wondering which step had undone him first, I felt nothing but quiet satisfaction. I didn't celebrate. I didn't rub it in. I simply let him understand what I already knew. Betrayal has a price. And sometimes the most devastating revenge is the one delivered silently, invisibly, with absolute control. By the time the sun rose, the pool was still, the water reflecting a world that had tilted, and I, the orchestrator, walked away, unchallenged, unshaken, and finally free.